それでは間もなく入場。
The two leaders will be entering the room shortly. Thank you very much for waiting. We would like to start the press conference. First of all, Nissan's Mr. Gon is going to speak. Mr. Gon, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier today, Nissan completed the acquisition of a 34% equity stake in Mitsubishi Motors at a cost of 237 billion yen, and I am honored to address this event as chairman-elect of this company. With this investment, Nissan becomes the largest single shareholder in Mitsubishi Motors, and Mitsubishi Motors becomes a full partner in the alliance. In a few moments, Osamu Masuko will explain what this transaction means for Mitsubishi Motors. I am delighted that he accepted our request to continue as chief executive to lead the necessary transformation of the company. That transformation plan and our strategic investments have been endorsed by the leading institutional shareholders in Mitsubishi Motors. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Mitsubishi Corporation, and the Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi UFJ have each signed an agreement to support our investment, our strategy, and proposed board of directors for the company. As disclosed in today's press release, and as I mentioned earlier, I have been nominated as chairman-elect of Mitsubishi Motors. Pending shareholder approval later this year, I will be joined on the Mitsubishi Motors board by Yamashita-san, who has already joined Mitsubishi Motors as a member of the executive committee. We have also nominated Hitoshi Kawaguchi, Chief Sustainability Officer and Head of Global External Affairs of Nissan, and Hiroshi Karube, Global Controller and Global Asset Manager, as board directors from Nissan of Mitsubishi Motors. I speak for all of us when I say we will give our absolute commitment to supporting Mitsubishi Motors and Masuko-san in his role as Chief Executive Officer. Since we first announced the proposed transaction in May, Mitsubishi Motors and its employees have taken significant steps to restore trust, ensure compliance, and enhance governance. More are certainly needed. Rebuilding trust is the #1 priority. Nissan will provide the talent, the skills, the expertise, and the restructuring experience that has been requested by Mitsubishi Motors leadership to support the necessary changes. We will also support Mitsubishi Motors to identify new opportunities for growth and for additional synergies, which Masuko-san will outline shortly. These include synergies in areas such as joint purchasing, deeper localization, joint plant utilization, common vehicle platforms, technology sharing, and cooperation in emerging and developed markets. Lastly, through this transaction, we are sending a clear message. We believe in the underlying strength of Japanese car making. By supporting Mitsubishi Motors, Nissan will help sustain the most senior Japanese auto company with an internationally known brand committed to designing, developing, and manufacturing high-quality vehicles. Later today, I will explain the specific benefits for Nissan. But first, I will leave the floor to Masuko-san to comment on what these deals mean for Mitsubishi Motors and our alliance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gon. Following the joint press conference with Mr. Gon on the May 12th, due diligence was carried out along with antitrust clearance. So I am very pleased to report to you that Nissan Motor completed the payment for the stock acquisition of our company today. On April 21st, I paid a visit to Mr. Gon to ask for Nissan Motors' support to restore our engineering organization and revive the company. And it was only natural that the discussion led to the possibility of capital alliance. And I am relieved that all the processes, including the payment by Nissan, are now complete after the thorough discussions. In the past 6 months, Mitsubishi Motors suffered from fuel economy issues, caused many people a lot of trouble, and lost their confidence. Yet, Mr. Gon consistently encouraged me by telling me that you can definitely overcome this issue. Nissan Motors spares no effort to provide necessary support. Mitsubishi Motors has many good points and strengths. We also talked about where the company should be in the future on many occasions. Gon-san's unwavering, focused leadership and strong belief, as well as his strategic thinking, paved the way to the closing today. Mr. Gon is expected to assume chairmanship of the board of Mitsubishi Motors, and this is extremely encouraging. At the same time, Mr. Gon said that fuel economy issue is an issue of Mitsubishi Motors and that Mitsubishi Motors should be the one to resolve it. I assume that what he's saying is based on his belief to preserve management independence and distinctive brand of Mitsubishi Motors. We are carrying out a reform under the leadership of Mr. Yamashita, who came from Nissan Motor in order to prevent recurrence of misconduct. The company is undergoing significant change compared to where we were before June. However, it takes time and company-wide concerted effort to regain trust. Investment by Nissan Motor will certainly contribute significantly to our company's sustainable growth. Being a full member of Renault-Nissan Alliance enables us to be more selective and concentrated while benefiting from a stronger management team. As part of our attempt to build stronger management, we decided to welcome Mr. Trevor Mann as COO. We intend to capitalize on Mr. Mann's experience and drive reform in pursuit of sustainable growth under new leadership team. Including Mr. Gon and Mr. Yamashita, Nissan will nominate another 2 persons, a total of 4 new board members. We will also create a position of executive in charge of global risk control, who will reporting to me directly and who will oversee compliance and risk control. These initiatives are intended to expedite our effort to recover confidence. We anticipate Nissan Motor to support our management team and contribute to Mitsubishi Motors' revival in the coming years. Nissan Motor underwent a significant transformation in the last 17 years of the alliance with Renault, starting from the Nissan Revival Plan. The company has grown in sales volume, enjoyed a big increase in profitability. Nissan Motor continues addressing new technology challenges as well. We look forward to learning a lot of things from Nissan Motors' successful experiences. By referring to the successful case of Nissan Motor, we intend to accelerate our progress and come closer to where Nissan is today as much as possible. We expect to generate synergies in many areas with Nissan. Let me give you some examples. In purchasing, we expect to benefit from significant purchasing cost reduction through benchmarking and joint procurement of raw materials. In production, we will be consigned to produce differential gears by Nissan at the Mizushima plant, which will help us to enhance utilization rate. In engineering, we expect to generate significant synergies through joint development of autonomous driving technologies, wherein competition is intensifying, as well as common platforms and powertrains to comply with. environmental and safety regulation that are increasingly stringent. Particularly, our plug-in hybrid EV technology will be the alliance standard that will be shared by Nissan Motor and Renault, and this is expected to reduce costs as well. Moreover, in some of markets, including Australia, we will work with Nissan Motor sales finance companies to offer retail loans, leases, dealer financing, among other things, to the market. All these initiatives will result in greater sales volume and bottom line. Now, from fiscal 2017 onward, we expect to benefit from more than 25 billion yen of synergies a year. This will generate incremental operating margin of 1 percentage point in the first year and 2 percentage point in the second year, and more than 2% in the third year. In addition, this will produce incremental earnings per share of 12 yen in the first year and approximately 20 yen in the second year. Discussion on synergies has just begun. We will go deeper and build up more results going forward. This deal will officially make Nissan Motor our largest shareholder. The three Mitsubishi Group companies will remain shareholders as well. With strong support from Nissan Motor and the Mitsubishi Group companies, we will work on enhancing our governance and management performance. I assume this mission from Mr. Gon and the Mitsubishi Group companies. So I will do my best to get the new organization off the ground smoothly and hand it over to the next generations to come. The new management team is formed based on a request to Nissan Motor in order to carry out our necessary reform, and this is also agreed to by the three Mitsubishi Group companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We would like to entertain questions from now. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Give us the name of your affiliation, your name, and limit yourself to 12 questions per person. Thank you very much. Yes, the person in the center, second row from the front. Thank you. And the next one is the person at the back. Thank you. Yes, Nikkei Shimbun. My name is Shiraishi. Masuko-san, you earlier said that you would like to learn from the successful case of Nissan Motor. In Nissan Revival Plan, cross-functional teams, which are famous team building methods, were put in place. Team building in terms of management. In this area, what kind of successful cases that you would like to learn at Mitsubishi Motors? This is my question. And the second question, well, there are a lot of reports already, but according to rules on J-League, soccer J-League, there is a probability or possibility of violating the rules. And how are you going to be involved in the management of Urawa Reds soccer team?
Thank you for your question. From my part, let me give you an answer. With regard to Nissan's success experience, Mr. Yamashita is working with us. With regard to development department, we are making a very active activities, and Mr. Yamashita has experience in Nissan. Based on his experience, we are introducing a lot of initiatives in our company, and they are already producing results. And also, as you pointed out, cross-functional team activities, for instance, Mr. Trevor Mann is going to come, and at Renault and at Nissan, he has gained various experiences. Therefore, he is familiar with the both companies. Therefore, thanks to Mr. Trevor Mann's contribution, whether we should establish a cross-functional team or maybe another approach which is more suited to Mitsubishi Motors, and we are going to have discussions going forward, and we would like to carry forward the transformation very aggressively going forward. With regard to J-League contract, yes, it is true, as you say, one company or one group cannot make investment in two different soccer teams. It is not allowed. Therefore, therefore, 40% or more stake we have, and therefore, it is not equity method company. We have to make sure that. Therefore, we are going to please wait for a while. We have to have a discussion until before the end of this month.
Yes, the person has a microphone already. Yes, freelance. My name is Watanabe. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a couple of questions. Earlier, when you announced this in May, Mr. Gon, you said that Nissan is just a shareholder and the revival is in the hands of Mitsubishi Motors. It's Mitsubishi Motors' job to revive the company. That's what I understood from the earlier conference. But now you are assuming a chairmanship. Why are you assuming the chairmanship? Why are you so involved? It seems like it's going beyond or transcending of being a shareholder. Why? What is the reason for assuming the chairmanship of the board of Mitsubishi Motors? This is my first question. You also touched upon the synergies going forward that you expect. Within Japan, there are about 620 dealers of Mitsubishi across Japan. How will you treat them? In the Japanese sales today of Mitsubishi is pretty much small today. How do you intend to boost the sales performance in Japan for Mitsubishi? Japanese users, including the potential users of Mitsubishi Motors, besides the Japanese users, this Capital Alliance and chairmanship by Mr. Gon, how does it affect these users going forward?
Okay, first we didn't change position. The board is in charge of the governance of the company. The board is not in charge of the management of the company. That's very clear. So the responsibility of the chairman of the board and the members of the board is to make sure that there are rules inside the company, that there are processes inside the company, that the laws are being respected, that there is a budget, that there is transparency, that there is a midterm plan, and that the company and the management is working toward reaching the potential of the company. That's the responsibility of the board. It's certainly not managing the company. Now, the responsibility of the CEO and his team is to manage the company. So there was absolutely no change between what we said in May and what we are doing today. What we said is that Nissan will offer every talent, skill, expertise, know-how necessary for the management. Nobody will leave Nissan to go to Mitsubishi unless Mitsubishi asks for him. Every single step that we announced today has been asked by Matsuko-san or by Mitsubishi Motors. And I can tell you that means the people we are sending to Mitsubishi Motors are very valuable people for Nissan. But now that we are becoming the main shareholder, we have a lot also at stake inside Mitsubishi. I have no intention to interfere with the management of Mitsubishi. This is the responsibility of Matsuko-san, let it be clear. But as chairman-elect of the board, my responsibility is to make sure that there is transparency inside the company, there are strong governance, there are budgets, midterm plan, and that Mitsubishi relationship with Nissan and with Renault is very smooth and is very effective. That's the responsibility of the board and of the chairman of the board. And the people who are representing Nissan in the board, one of them is part of management, Yamashita-san, who is EVP in charge of engineering. But the other two are members of the board who are not involved into the operations of Mitsubishi. So that's what I want to tell you on point number one. We didn't change our position. By the way, this is not something new because you know very well that the relationship between Renault and Nissan has always followed the same rule. Each company manages itself, has its own autonomy, has its own executive committee, has its own board, and report to its own shareholders. But we have to be careful that the company develops synergies for the benefit of all the stakeholders. So that's for question number one. Question number two, well, obviously, when you ask questions about the dealers in Japan and how we're going to boost sales, I think this question must be addressed more to Masuko-san, who, in fact, is responsible and accountable for the performance of Mitsubishi Motors.
それで日本
So with regard to domestic situation, in order to restore confidence in Japan, the initiative for that purpose is something I want to explain now. We now have a capital alliance with Nissan Motor. As Mr. Gon has been saying repetitively, management independence and autonomy and distinctive brand. And also, marketing has to be done separately between the two companies. With regard to Japanese market, on our part, we have to work. We have to put ourselves on a very firm foot. So in a sense, there are some collaboration. However, in the market, we have some competition as well. Therefore, with our own strength, we would like to rebuild our own market in Japan. So in this process, and in this process of making synergies, perhaps Nissan Motor will be helping us when it comes to vehicles and technology. It is possible that we'll be receiving some help from Nissan. Of course, that can return to domestic market too. Therefore, in addition to our own products and technology, Nissan's products and technology will be capitalized on if possible and wherever that is appropriate. So that would make a very good contribution and that would be an encouragement to our domestic stakeholders.
The person on the left, please. And this will be followed by the person in front. Sankei Shimbun, Aida is speaking. Mr. Gon and Mr. Masuko, I have one question for each one of you. Mr. Gon, you come first. The three entities, Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi Motors, you are going to be involved in all three entities. So you are going to oversee three entities. And is there any benefit or a good point about this? Or by overseeing three entities, is there anything that you may miss? Is there such a concern? That's the question to Mr. Gon. And the second question goes to Mr. Masuko. Masuko-san, in the past, after the issue rises, you said that your role is to hand it over to the new leadership. But now you are remaining as CEO. What's the reason behind it?
Okay, well, let me answer your first question and maybe part of your second question before I hand it to Masuko-san. Yes, I will be involved into three entities, Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi, but not in the same way. In Renault, I'm chairman and CEO of the company. So I'm responsible of the governance and I'm responsible of the performance. In Nissan, I'm chairman and CEO of the company, so same thing. I'm responsible of the governance and I'm responsible of the performance. In Mitsubishi, I'm chairman-elect, which means I'm responsible with the members of the board to make sure that there is a strong governance in Mitsubishi, and as representative of the shareholders, that the shareholders' interests are being taken in consideration in the decision. So it's not the same role. Here, clearly, the management responsibility is with the CEO. Now, for the second, so it's not the same role. And why? Well, this is up to the shareholder of each company to decide what they want. And today, we are proposing this board and the shareholders will be voting before the end of the year to say yes or no, we want this board, knowing that if this board goes on, I will be the chairman-elect. So it's very simple. This is a shareholder decision about who they want to be chairman, who they want to be CEO, and it will be submitted to their vote. Now, let me answer also the second question that you asked to Masuko-san. Masuko-san did not want to stay in the job. Let me put it very clearly. He told me many times he wants to resign to take responsibility for what happened to Mitsubishi, which is very honorable and that I respect. But I want it very clear, make it very clear that I asked him to stay. And this was a very important condition for us to make all this alliance, because we trust Masuko-san and we have been working with him for many years. And even though I understand that on a personal level he wanted to leave, I asked him to sacrifice his personal taste and inclination for the best interest of Mitsubishi and for the best interest of the alliance. And he accepted to do that. And I think he will do it as long as the shareholder, the new shareholder, want him to do it. So I'm answering this question to avoid him having to answer this delicate question, but I want you to know that he didn't want to stay. He wanted to take responsibility for Mitsubishi, but I have systematically refused this position, and he is professional enough to have accepted finally to put the interest of Mitsubishi and the interest of the alliance in front of his own inclination. Masuko-san.
We had a few economy scandals. The responsibility of the management team for that, until the new management comes in, I am going to stay in this position, and I repay my contribution, my compensation to the company for a while. This is what I have been saying. This idea I maintain. And I told Mr. Gong as well, when the new management team comes in, I would like to leave the company, I said. However, Mr. Gong said that the management independence of Mitsubishi, and also in order to make a great smooth start under new leadership and synergy and so forth. And Mr. Gong said that I should stay in the company and continue to manage the company. Repeatedly, looking back the past 6 months, it was very difficult to make a decision immediately. And by remaining in the position, I was reluctant to remain in the management position. However, on the April 21st, I asked for Mr. Gong's support, and since then there are many events. However, consistently since then, Mr. Gong has been very passionate about the transformation of this company, and we would like to put the new management team on track, because next year we are going to start the new midterm plan, and I think in order to pave the way for that, I should remain in the management position. And I thought that was one way of assuming my own responsibility and accountability. I understand there are some criticism, and Mitsubishi's revival is my top priority. And once again, I would like to straighten up, and I decided to remain in the position for the transformation of the company.
NHK Miyamoto is speaking. Mr. Gon and Mr. Masuko, I have one question each for each one of you. Earlier, as some people are asking, Mr. Gon, Mitsubishi Motors chairman-elect, after you assume the chairmanship, what's your role again? I want to hear it again, because going forward, coordination of alliance or governance, you are going to oversee these things, right? But after AGSM, within the year, you'll be in charge of the Mitsubishi Motors, and there's slow sales in Japan, a lot of misconduct in engineering organization. Against such backdrop, how are you going to reform this company? There are a lot of people who count on you. You are not going to assume a real leadership of management, but how do you drive the reform? How do you personally think that what is required for the reform you personally think? And Mr. Masuko, related to the earlier question, because of fuel economy issue, you have a big responsibility to take, because you were the top executive. And you said that you are assuming the responsibility for the next midterm plan. Until to what level or how long will you stay and leave? Or how far should you go in order to revive and reform the company? These are the two questions.
I will start. Obviously, the first role of a chairman of the board is to manage the board. And the responsibility of the board, as I said, is governance. And again, it's making sure that there is risk management into the company, there are clear rules, that everything which is being done follow clear processes, that there is proper audit function, etc., that there is transparency, and nothing which is being done inside the company to the best knowledge of management and the board is against any law of any market. That's the first responsibility. The second responsibility, as you know, the board is responsible to defend, he represents the shareholder. So I just want to make sure that the interests of the shareholders are being respected, that all the decisions made are for the best interest, or at least long-term interest, of the shareholder. So this is one part. Then the second part, obviously Mitsubishi is joining an alliance. Alliance is a major organization made by Nissan, made by Renault, but made also by other entities. Avtovaz in Russia, Dongfeng in China, and many others. So helping Masuko-san navigate inside this whole organization and get the best out of it is also part of the role of the chairman. I'm also here to give him advice, to support him, to exchange with him, because he has a tough task. So in a certain way, the chairman should be here to support the CEO, give him advice, exchange experience. There is not a lot of people to who the CEO can open his heart and exchange or communicate about his worries or his hopes or the potential. Chairman is one of them, when the chairman is coming from the same industry and understand the issues. So I would say there are a triple role. One is about the governance and the normal role of the chairman. The second is facilitating and supporting the relationship within the alliance, particularly because of my role as chairman and CEO of the other two main companies, and also as advice and support to Masuko-san.
First of all, the next midterm business plan has to be implemented fully. That is one thing. And the automotive industry itself is facing a major turning point now. Therefore, that conventional way of developing and manufacturing cars will not be very helpful. So we have to question that, and we have to come up with some innovation. Therefore, in the future, Mitsubishi Motors, together with Renault Nissan, within the major framework of this alliance, Mitsubishi Motors will fully survive and live thrivingly. We have to pave the way for that. However, before that, what we have to do is, as I have been saying, to prevent recurrence of the problems. We have 23 plus 8. Therefore, in total, 31 transformation initiatives. They have to be implemented to the end. And the company itself has to be fundamentally transformed. And this is a challenge we are facing now. So this time around, from Nissan, the part-time director and also some other members are joining us. With their cooperation, we would like to change the way we manage our organization. The new organization structure and also new way of managing the company will be built in our company. So this is something I would like to achieve while in office. So if I achieve that, Mitsubishi Motors will be able to once again move forward for the sustainable growth. That is my view. Thank you.
Okay, next please. The person in the third row and the person at the front row. Asahi Shimbun Aoyama is speaking. Mr. Gon, I have one question to you. Mitsubishi Motor, as you may know, in 2000 and 2004 experienced recalls. And there were a lot of misconducts in the past. And the investigation teams indicated the closed organization, which are closed, not open, is the cause. And this aroused the compliance issues, and they had low awareness about these risks. And according to the special investigation team of the recent misconduct, they said the same. After assuming the chairmanship, what makes you think that the reform which is coming will be successful? What makes you think so? Why now they will be fine? And related to this, with regards to fuel economy issue, Masuko-san has a consequence to take as a top executive, but so he shouldn't stay. That's what some or a lot of people say in Japan. And Mr. Gon, under your personal intention, you retain Mr. Masuko. I mean, how are you going to defend your decision in front of these people who oppose to retain Mr. Masuko? That was a lengthy question, but that's one question to you, Mr. Gon. And also, the second question is about the sales organization. It's more of a mid and long-term question. You are going to repeat for the recent years, but in the mid and long term, you may have to rationalize the dealership distribution network. You talk about Outlander plug-in hybrid. Outlander plug-in hybrid is a unique technology. And how about providing this to OEM Nissan? Is that possible?
3 or 4 questions already in your 2 questions, but let me make sure I don't forget any one of them. Okay, so you say, why do I think that now it's going to be successful, while in the past it was not? Well, yeah, with this kind of rationale, we would have never made the Nissan revival plan. Well, Nissan struggled for 10 years, and you could say the same thing. In 1999, you told me the same thing. Nissan tried 2, 3 times, didn't work. Why do you think this time it's going to work? Yeah, I think it's going to work because everything I've seen from Mitsubishi is there are competent people, there are talented people, they like their company, and frankly, there is no reason that with more transparency, more cross-functional work, best practice exchange, good exchange with Nissan, we cannot fix it. Well, obviously, we have to make it a demonstration. I agree with you. We have to make the demonstration. It's our duty. The management has to make the demonstration. But I can tell you that we will not spare anything as Nissan to support Mitsubishi into this period, particularly now that we are the main shareholders. I think it's possible. I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to require a lot of changes, a lot of tough decisions. But management is ready to take this tough decision. But we are also ready to support management as much as we can through talent, expertise, know-how, coaching, etc. That's for the first question. Second, you're saying some people in Japan think that Masuko-san should not stay, etc. I understand that. Everybody has an opinion. But we are a company, and company has its shareholders. They are the owners of the company. I have to respond to the shareholders. I don't have to respond to other people. Everybody can have an opinion, but this is a business, and I do what is good for the interest of the business. And today, I consider, and I said it very clearly, that in the best interest of Mitsubishi Motors, and in the best interest for the owners of Mitsubishi Motors, who are the shareholders, Masuko-san, in my opinion, should stay. That's it. So I can understand that other people who are not shareholders, who are observer, commentator, think. I understand that. I understand. But my duty is not to convince everybody. My duty is to convince the shareholders and demonstrate that this is a good decision through the results and the performance of the company. You judge CEO, it's normal, on the performance. That's it. If the performance is good, you say it's a good CEO. If the performance is bad, you say, no, it's not a good CEO. Well, we're going to demonstrate, hopefully together, that this is a good decision. Not only that the alliance is a good decision, but that Mitsubishi Motors has much more potential than it has shown so far, and that by fixing the governance issues and by putting all of these things which are contested behind us, we're going to have a much stronger growth and much more profitable company into the future. But again, we believe in this. We will have to demonstrate it. Then you had the third questions about the sales organization. This I will leave it with Masuko-san. But I would like to talk about plug-in hybrid. Because we say, Mitsubishi has a plug-in hybrid, and now the alliance considered that this is good synergy. Well, this is to the benefit of everybody. Why? Because today the plug-in hybrid developed by Mitsubishi is produced at a limited number. But then when Nissan is going to have its own version of the plug-in hybrid, not completely developed by Nissan, but based on what Mitsubishi has already developed. When Renault is going to have its own version of the plug-in hybrid, based on what already Mitsubishi developed. Everybody wins. Why everybody wins? Because obviously the cost of the development of Mitsubishi will be shared. That's number one, which means there is less investments from Mitsubishi. Second, a lot of the parts are going to be shared. So when you turn to the suppliers, the volumes are going to be much more important, which means the suppliers can offer you better prices. So Mitsubishi can get lower investments, lower cost, can get also bigger production if necessary. And Renault and Nissan can also get lower investments and faster timing to bring this technology to the market. That's the way synergies work. Synergies work by saying, I'm going to be benefiting from sharing my technology with the others. Well, I can tell you that on autonomous drive, Nissan is very well advanced. Mitsubishi needs the autonomous drive. We're going to do the same thing. The technology that Nissan has developed on autonomous drive is going to be shared with Mitsubishi. So Mitsubishi can go much faster. We'll have to pay a much smaller price to develop this technology than if it was doing it by itself. Same thing for connected car. Same thing for powertrain, for transmissions. That's the beauty of the synergy. So I don't want you to think that Mitsubishi is going to lose its originality or singularity. It's not true. This is at the basis of the alliance. The alliance is based on the fact that each company keeps its own personality and its own brand. And one of the reasons I so much wanted Masuko-san to stay as CEO, because I wanted the people in Mitsubishi to know that Mitsubishi remains Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi doesn't become a subsidiary of Nissan or a department of Nissan. So by Masuko-san, who represents Mitsubishi, who has nothing to do with Nissan, leading the company, it's a very strong message. It's not Nissan which is going to make the transformation of Mitsubishi. It's Mitsubishi which is going to make the transformation of Mitsubishi with the support of Nissan. That's the strong message.
Hello, Hans Skrimel from Automotive News. We talked a lot about, or we heard a lot today about the synergies, some of the numbers that are coming out, the profit margin increments that we see, and some of the shared savings. Could you give us a little bit, drill down a little bit deeper into the numbers, maybe give us a wider view of that? I believe is how it benefits Mitsubishi, but what do we see on the Nissan side? And also, can you talk a little bit about what this means for some of the developed markets, especially North America? What kind of synergies do you see in the North American market?
You're mixing different things. For the Nissan side, you have to come back at 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock, you'll have the full picture from Nissan. Today, we're talking only Mitsubishi. Okay? So we'll talk about the synergy from the Nissan side and what Nissan is going to do. Today, we concentrate on Mitsubishi. That's why on Mitsubishi, I prefer ask Masuko-san to answer.
With regard to synergies, allow me to speak in Japanese. With regard to synergies with Nissan, we have just started discussions with Nissan, so we are going to expand our discussion going forward. And currently, there are some concrete items we are discussing. We are going to go deeper. More specifically, we have a new plant being constructed in Indonesia. From October next year, new MPV will be produced there. And regarding this, Nissan will having this as an OEM. So this new MPV, Nissan is going to sell this in ASEAN countries. Therefore, Mitsubishi can increase production volume so that profitability of Indonesian operation will be improved. With regard to cost reduction of logistics, we are having discussion global basis, and we can expect synergies there. And also the effective utilization of raw materials is where we can expect synergies, and also we can make development work more efficient. So far, only with Nissan, we have had synergy discussions. However, going forward, as Nissan has become the single largest shareholder of a company, we are a full member of Nissan-Renault Alliance from today. Therefore, with Renault too, we are going to explore the possibility of synergies in concrete terms going forward. With Renault, there are areas of strengths which are different between the two companies. Therefore, there is a greater room for synergy pursuit with Renault. So, Mr. Gon is at the top of Renault. So, going forward, I would like to have a very good discussions with him. The development, manufacturing diesel engine, that is a strong area of Renault. So, Mitsubishi Motors may want to use the Renault's diesel engines going forward. Each specific items, we have quite numerous. For financial impact, numbers, we have to wait for a while to have a discussion more deeply with Nissan and Renault going forward.
For the North American market, where Mitsubishi's struggling, but Nissan's doing quite well, how does Mitsubishi expect to leverage the partnership to improve its standing in North America?
With regard to North American market, our products lineup and Nissan's product lineup are different. So it's very difficult to make an apple-to-apple comparison. However, we have a past mistake in terms of marketing and sales. We have to learn lesson from that. Therefore, in the future, we would like to rebuild our efforts and structure. As a global trend, I can say that SUV segment share is expanding, growing. So in our case, we have a 4WD and SUV, SWD-V. So we have been investing a lot of management resources in these segments. So in North America, Outlander, specifically RAR, RVR, and these are the models we would like to use to strengthen our capabilities. Of course, we have some competition in the market, so it isn't that we are going to ask for Nissan's help in all the segments and completely, but we would like to hone our abilities by working with Nissan going forward to recover North American market.
And you know, it was fair to say that the synergies that Mitsubishi is showing today and Nissan will be showing later are the low-hanging fruits. I mean, we didn't have time, and the number of people involved was relatively limited during the period where we were doing, at the same time, due diligence, antitrust effort, and trying to see the most obvious synergies. So there are a lot of things that had not even started. You know, Masuko-san is mentioning the fact that synergies with Renault, which potentially are very big between Mitsubishi and Renault, didn't even start. We didn't mention any. There is not 1 yen of synergy concerning Renault. We didn't start it. So what you see today is the low-hanging fruits coming from particularly obvious purchasing collaboration, obvious platform collaboration, obvious product collaboration, obvious specific immediate needs, and it's already massive. So with time, we're gonna, obviously we're gonna develop much more synergy, it's gonna take more time and much more deep inside the organization collaboration at the level of the region and other level. And this is valid for Mitsubishi and for Nissan.
Due to the time constraint, this will be the final question. The last question, we'll have another person to ask.
Yeah, Yann Rousseau from the French business paper Les Echos. My question is for Mr. Ghosn. You mentioned many times that you want the company to have a better governance, clearer rules. You want everybody to play with transparency. You are afraid, you want to change the risk management. What did you discover in the due diligence that make you insist on that? Is there a particular division that you think really need to be reformed? And when I say that, I guess you know I'm talking about the R&D center that Mr. Matsuko-san, as himself said, was very closed and resistant to some change.
Yeah. Well, obviously, what I know from Masuko-san, and I know from the people who have made the due diligence. And everything we know today is not different from what we discussed with Masuko-san. And Masuko-san himself, the first thing he asked me for help, he said, I would like you to send for Mitsubishi a seasoned engineer who would be able to head R&D, because he suspected that he had a lot of changes to make into the R&D division in order to establish the necessary transparency. So that's what I can tell you today. We didn't discover in the due diligence nothing more than what we have heard and seen and exchanged with Masuko-san. This being said, obviously, starting in December, there are going to be much more deep work inside Mitsubishi with the new board, with the new management team, etc., because there is an emergency here to make sure that everything is put in place to avoid events like the one which is relative to the fuel economy and the emissions that happen in Japan not to happen again.
As I said, it's time. This will be the final question. Okay. Okay, the person at the front will bring your microphone. This will be the final question. I'm sorry. Toyo Keizai Kigawa is speaking. Ms. Masuko-san, you have been saying that in order to resolve the fuel economy issue, you need to reform the engineering of organization. Mr. Gon, he said the talents and expertise and know-how will be provided by Nissan. I understood this from his answer, but specifically, at what size or to what degree would you like to accept the talents from Nissan? As of today, how much engineering resources you need from Nissan? What's your thought? And Mr. Gon, are you ready to provide the engineering resources that Masuko-san is asking for?
So let me start off. In June, Mr. Yamashita joined our company, and Mr. Yamashita is leading that kind of effort in engineering transformation. And oftentimes we hear about manpower deficiency, and with our we are really controlling and managing manpower. That is what Mr. Yamashita is reviewing. So the actual status of manpower and what is needed is being explored, and also awareness raising and also operational transformation. All of these are covered in this initiative. In this process, as a human resources, there is a shortage of human resources that we have already identified, and maybe we identify more of the shortages. But we would like to receive the report from Mr. Yamashita, and then we have to seek assistance perhaps from Nissan, or maybe we should source necessary resources from outside market. So in any case, we have to rebuild engineering department. And maybe we have come 50% or 60% of the process in terms of Mr. Yamashita's investigation of the actual status. So when the report comes out, I would like to come back to Mr. Gon for further discussion.
Did that answer your question? Okay, with this, we would like to move on to the photo shooting. Please wait for a few moments. Thank you very much. We will start the next session at 6 p.m. as scheduled. Please remain in this room until the next session starts. We will just rearrange the room. Thank you.
Shall we go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Today, our global alliance reached an inflection point. Nissan has completed the acquisition of a 34% stake in Mitsubishi Motors, becoming the single largest shareholder in Japan's senior automaker, which traces its roots to its first Model A car in 1917. We are proud to be providing the strategic, operational, and management expertise, as well as the capital investment to ensure that Mitsubishi Motors not only overcomes its immediate significant challenges, but also flourishes in the future. Nissan will help Mitsubishi Motors to fulfill its true potential by first helping it to repair customer trust, which was badly damaged by the recent fuel economy issue. In the heat of the fuel economy issue, we had a choice: to sever our ties with Mitsubishi Motors, or to invest and enable this company to rebuild its reputation and its future. We choose the revival road, reflecting both our existing partnership with Mitsubishi Motors and Nissan's own history as a company that survived a near-death experience at the turn of the century to become one of the most successful actors in the global auto industry. At Mitsubishi Motors, we have signed an agreement with the Mitsubishi Group shareholders who have welcomed our investment and undertaken to support our board nominations. Together with these long-term investors, we will collectively own at least 51% of the shares in Mitsubishi Motors. Although Mitsubishi Motors must embark on major self-help measures, Nissan will support our partner with the strategic capabilities, synergy opportunities, and management expertise to realize its long-term potential. Before taking your question, I will briefly address Nissan's strategic logic and the operational upside that we see from this alliance. First, about our strategic logic. The addition of Mitsubishi Motors means that the alliance created with Renault 17 years ago will sell 10 million units in fiscal year 2016, putting it in the world's top 3 automotive groups. Our strategy is focused on realizing synergies in joint purchasing, deeper localization, joint plant utilization, common vehicle platforms, technology sharing, and an expansion of our combined presence in both mature and emerging markets. We know from our experience with Renault what can be achieved. With its support, Nissan has been returned to profitability. It has sharply increased volumes and market share. And 17 years on, the alliance continues to generate incremental synergies for Nissan. In 2015, the alliance realized 4.4 billion euro in synergies, a figure set to rise to 5.5 billion euro in 2018. We now see significant potential for further valuable synergies from Mitsubishi Motors' participation in this alliance. Together with Mitsubishi, the alliance will have a scale advantage over most car makers and a handicap to none. I will now address what this means operationally. We have already identified synergy with Mitsubishi Motors that will benefit both our companies. I give some concrete examples of the benefits for Nissan will include our ability to harness Mitsubishi Motors' know-how in the K car segment to deliver better products for our Japanese customers, adopt systems from Mitsubishi Motors for plug-in hybrid electric vehicle as part of an overall commitment to Nissan Intelligent Mobility, capitalize on Mitsubishi Motors' strengths in pickup trucks to become jointly a powerhouse globally in the segment, build on Mitsubishi Motors' successful ASEAN operation to strengthen our own operation, and enable the Nissan Sales Finance Company to provide services to Mitsubishi Motors customers in any market in the world where it is mutually beneficial. Earlier today, Masuko-san outlined the near-term financial benefits for Mitsubishi Motors. For Nissan, these synergies are expected to generate improvements in operating profit equivalent to a pre-tax return on the investment paid today of 10% for fiscal year 2017 and 25% in fiscal year 2018 and beyond, which means that these synergies are now estimated to 24 billion yen next year in fiscal year 2017 and 60 billion yen in fiscal year 2018 and more beyond. From an earnings per share perspective, this translates to an incremental 4 yen per share in fiscal year 2017 and 10 yen per share for Nissan in the following year. Obviously, this on top of any earnings accretion linked to our overall shareholding in Mitsubishi Motors. I want to stress the fact that these synergies relate only to the benefits from our partnership with Mitsubishi Motors. This does not take account of any collaboration with Renault, which will contribute additional bottom line benefit for all partners in the alliance coming from new synergies between Renault and Mitsubishi. This is obviously only the starting point. With Mitsubishi Motors getting stronger as part of the alliance, Nissan will benefit through long-term investment returns and shareholder value creation. Our alliance depends on strong and efficient management. We have been invited by Mitsubishi Motors to strengthen their board of directors and their management team. We have nominated 4 Nissan representatives to join the Mitsubishi Motors board. The nominees are Hitoshi Kawaguchi, Chief Sustainability Officer and Head of Global External Affairs, Hiroshi Karube, Global Controller and Global Asset Manager, and Mitsuhiko Yamashita, Nissan's current representative on the Mitsubishi Motors board. At Mitsubishi Motors' request, Yamashita-san joined the company earlier this year as Executive Vice President of Development and is a member of its executive committee. Given the investment by Nissan in Mitsubishi Motors and recognizing the significant transformation required by that company, the board of Mitsubishi Motors has asked, and I have accepted, to dedicate some of my time as chairman of their board. I will support Masuko-san in executing the required transformation of Mitsubishi Motors and leading its smooth and necessary cooperation with its alliance partners. To allow me to continue to focus on Nissan and on maintaining Nissan momentum in delivering performance, while at the same time supporting Masuko-san, I have proposed to the Nissan board, which has agreed, that Hiroto Saikawa, currently Chief Competitive Officer, be promoted to the position of Co-Chief Executive Officer. Saikawa-san will be succeeded as Chief Competitive Officer by Yasuhiro Yamauchi, currently Alliance Executive Vice President of Purchasing. Véronique Sarlat-Despotes, currently Deputy to Yamauchi-san, will assume the responsibility as Alliance Executive Vice President in charge of purchasing and head of the Renault-Nissan purchasing organization, supported by Makoto Uchida, who will take responsibility for purchasing at Nissan. At the request of Masuko-san, Trevor Mann, currently Nissan's Chief Performance Officer, will join Mitsubishi Motors starting the 1st of November 2016 as its Chief Operating Officer. He will be replaced as Chief Performance Officer by José Munoz, who will continue as Chairman of Nissan's North American region. In summary, Nissan and Mitsubishi Motors are now well positioned to deliver significant incremental synergies for all stakeholders and will be even better positioned in future with additional contribution coming from synergies with Renault. With that, I would be happy to take your questions.
Okay, if you have a question, please raise your hand, identify yourself, and please limit it to one question. In the front row. Here. And then in the back. We'll go here, and then into the back with the hand up there.
Toyo Keizai Kigawa is speaking now. Mr. Gon, you said that synergy comes from joint purchasing and plant utilization. In many areas, you are expecting synergies. In generating synergies that you expect for Mitsubishi Motors, is there a painful restructuring in hardware like plants or reduction of human resources? Is there any painful restructuring that you are assuming from Mitsubishi Motors in order to generate synergies that you expect?
Well, I don't think pain is involved when efforts are necessary. I don't think there are pain. Pain is efforts in the dark. That's what pain. Our job is to deliver a lot of efforts, but with results, with the clear strategy. I don't think in the case of the collaboration between Nissan and Mitsubishi, there is nothing to be done in the dark. Everything will follow a clear strategy that is identified little by little. Today, what I'm talking about are synergies which are low-hanging fruits, which are obvious. I can give you some examples. We talked about the synergies benefiting Mitsubishi, and we said for the first year, Mitsubishi will have 25 billion yen of synergy. That's what Masuko-san announced. We're saying you have practically the same amount from the Nissan side for the first year, which means already when you look at 25 billion yen from the Mitsubishi side, 24 billion yen from the Nissan side, it's a massive amount that's going to impact this alliance. For the second year, Mitsubishi said that their operating profit will move from an additional 1% to an additional 2%, which represent approximately 40 billion yen of synergy for them. Nissan will have 60 billion yen of synergies. And these synergies have been identified as low-hanging fruits. I mean, there are plenty of synergies we know exist that we didn't even start. For example, collaboration on parts and accessory and after sales. There is plenty of potential. There is nothing in the synergy we announced around this. Why? Because the people did not even meet. Then you have the local collaboration, the collaboration between Nissan North America and Mitsubishi North America, between Nissan in Europe and Mitsubishi in Europe, between Nissan in the Middle East and Mitsubishi in the Middle East. Nothing. We only took the collaboration in the ASEAN because this is the most obvious synergies. So what I want to tell you here is, I don't think there is pain in the sense of efforts that people don't want to do. No, there is a lot of work because in order to make the synergies, we're going to have to make changes in Nissan and we're going to have to make changes in Mitsubishi. But there is a lot of potential also. So if by pain you say things, you know, like restructuring, etc., I don't think this will be generated by the synergies. I don't think so. I don't think we need to go to heavy restructuring in order to make the synergies work. If there is any heavy restructuring, it will be the decision made by each company for its own sake, but not generated by the synergies.
Okay, in the back.
Mr. Gon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's on.
You mentioned that the alliance now will sell 10 million cars and will have a scale advantage over most car makers and a handicap to none. It seems to be working because other car makers seem to be following suit. What is it about the alliance that you think makes it so great? And do you have one eye on the competition copying what you're doing?
Oh, we systematically benchmark competition. I think we are confident enough in our capacity in order to be very modest and accept the fact that from time to time, some competition do a better job than us. So we just don't ignore it. We just try to get the information about how do they do that. And there is not one single group that we systematically benchmark. There are some areas in engineering, in purchasing, in organization, in sales, in marketing. We have different benchmark, and the benchmark can be different depending on the regions. That means the people we benchmark in North America are not the same that the company we benchmark in Europe. So we spend our time benchmarking companies Because when we recognize that they're doing a better job than us on one particular performance, we just want to make sure that we understand how they are doing it and eventually doing it ourselves. So I don't want you to think that we are absolutely satisfied with where we are. I think we still have a lot of potential to progress. Now, what's unique about the Alliance compared to our main competitors, if you take the 3 major automotive group today or the 4 major automotive group, is that we are a kind of cooperation of different car makers, each one with their own identity and their own autonomy, while our 3 other main competitors are one company with one major brand. That's a big difference. It's one team, one management team, one culture, while we are different culture, different company, and this is where we have advantages and inconvenience. Obviously, they are much more coherent than us, but we are much more diversified. Obviously, they have one strategic plan. We have many. Well, when one company is down, the other one can be up. It's interesting that, for example, for many years, people complained of the fact that Renault was not growing as much as Nissan. Well, in the last 2 years, Renault has grown more than Nissan, even though it was a smaller scale. So we have different company acting with different strategy on different region, and this gives us strengths also, the strengths of diversity and the strengths of having different teams going after different objectives and not being taken by the same priorities. So this is our approach. When I'm talking about scale, I'm not talking about objective. For me, being number 1, number 2, or number 3 is not the issue. The issue is not to leave any major group having a scale advantage on you. That's it. So when you reach 10 million cars, well, obviously you have 3 automotive group who are around 10 million, 10.1 million, 9.9 million. It means there is no real difference. That means there is no more scale advantage. We obviously have a scale advantage compared to companies selling 2 million or 3 million or 4 million cars. And if you act smartly, this can become a serious competitive advantage, both in terms of investments in technology, in terms of purchasing power, in terms of presence in all the segments of the market, in terms of presence in geographical entity, and this is a real advantage. So again, I think today with 10 million cars, as I said, we have a handicap to nobody, and we have an advantage on most. So our duty is to leverage it and to use it as much as possible.
Back here in the right, and then up here in the front. And then we'll go to you third.
Yann Rousseau with Les Echos, the French business paper. So you're saying you're taking a step back from the CEO position to have more time to focus on the Mitsubishi Motors for a time. Is it a temporary position, or are you thinking on the next step? What's going to be Nissan after Carlos gone?
No, I don't think it's a step back. I don't think it's a step back. What I'm saying today is that because I'm going to have to dedicate more time supporting Masuko-san into making the transformation which is necessary, because we are the major shareholder now of Mitsubishi, and we need things to happen fast and to happen right and to deliver. And obviously this is the main responsibility of Masuko-san, but Masuko-san needs help. He needs help at the level of the reinforcement of his team, but he needs also guidance and support and advice from my part, not only as chairman of the board, but also facilitating the relationship with the other entities. All of these take obviously a time, and in order to make sure that we are not losing focus on Nissan's own performance, I'm not saying I'm stepping back, I'm saying on top of me being chairman and CEO of Nissan, I asked Saikawa-san to become co-chief executive officer, which means that there will be no loss or dispersion of attention on Nissan intensity of work to deliver its own midterm plan and its own performance. That's what I said.
Next, here.
Thank you for the opportunity. Asahi Shimbun, Sakakibara is my name. Thank you for the opportunity once again. Well, one of the synergies that you raised is the joint purchasing and joint procurement. Has a significant possibility, you said. And Mitsubishi Motor has a Mitsushima plant which is producing K cars, and around Mitsushima plant there are a lot of suppliers around this neighborhood of Mitsushima plant. With a joint purchasing or joint procurement, what will happen to less competitive suppliers in the neighborhood of Mitsushima plant? Are you going to replace them with your strong suppliers that you have at Nissan in order to enhance more competitive K cars to be produced?
No, less competitive supplier, wherever they are in Mitsushima plant or in Opama plant or in Tochigi plant or in North America or in Europe, are going to lose their mission with the lines, because we cannot compete at the top level with less competitive supply. We cannot. So it's not a question of, it's not limited to Mitsushima plant. It's everywhere in the world. The duty of our purchasing organization is to make sure that we always benefit from the best suppliers, because we owe this to our customers. Obviously, we don't do it blindly. We usually give a lot of time. We give a lot of warning. We help suppliers which are in difficulty. This is not a do or die kind of approach. We alert when the performance becomes mediocre or unacceptable, because we want a stability in our supply chain. And we will be very happy to add all the Mitsubishi suppliers to our own panel of suppliers. But at the same time, they have to be competitive, and we will help them be competitive. That's what I can tell you today. So it's good news for the competitive suppliers. It's probably bad news for the not so competitive suppliers, at least who doesn't want to make the efforts to become competitive.
Next here.
Yes, Nikkei Shimbun. My name is Shiraishi. Earlier, related to the earlier question, you said that Saikawa-san will be a joint co-CEO. Excuse me. There will be two CEOs at Nissan Motor. How are you going to share the roles and responsibilities going forward? And Mr. Gon, will there be any changes in your existing roles and responsibilities at Nissan?
Yeah, well, usually when you nominate a co-CEO, it's because you need a co-CEO. And we are here explaining why we need a co-CEO. I mean, we didn't come with the co-CEO all of a sudden out of the blue with the same organization. We said because of the Mitsubishi task and the responsibility and the time this is going to require, we nominate Saikawa-san as co-chief executive. So nobody can say, oh, I cannot get a decision, I cannot get to see Carlos Ghosn, etc. You want a decision from a CEO, here he is. Okay? So we want to move fast, decisively. Saikawa-san is a senior executive. He has been through all the transformation of Nissan since 1999. I have personally promoted him to different jobs. I know him very well. So there is no difference between what I think and what he thinks, between what I do and what he does. I trust him fully that if I'm not here and somebody needs an orientation, he will deliver the same orientation that I would have delivered. Obviously, he has his own personality. He has also the fact that he's Japanese, which makes it even easier in a certain way. But I don't want you to think that this is something coming out of the blue. Our organization changed in function of the need. Today, we are making a major move with Mitsubishi. We need to adapt the organization in function of that. Trevor Mann has been required by Mitsubishi to move as a chief operating officer. Well, obviously, we were not planning on that. That's why we asked Jose Munoz, who already has his hands full in North America, who has been successfully managing North American operation, to become the chief performance officer and cumulate both jobs because we are in front of a situation where we need to move quickly. So I don't want you to think that these are changes in the organization coming out of the blue. These have been decisions made with a lot of maturity, recognizing the task and recognizing the priorities. That's what I want to tell you. So obviously, Saikawa-san will have specific areas where he will be acting. I will keep certain area where I will be acting, but at the same time, at any time, I can make a decision. Obviously, as chief executive officer, he can make a decision if I'm not here or taken by other tasks So Nissan does not totally at all suffer from the fact that its top management is involved on many fronts.
Okay. Up in the front.
Hans again from Automotive News. I'd just like to follow on the comment about Munoz and his sliding over to be to take on a dual role. Will he be getting any kind of co-pilot for the North American role, or I mean, how is he supposed to balance that? Well, how do you envision that happening? And one other question about, can you compare the alliance or the partnership with Mitsubishi to your alliance with Nissan? Which do you imagine would be easier to actually get underway? I imagine there's some differences and similarities, but it will bringing Mitsubishi into the alliance be easier than it was to bring Nissan into the alliance?
Okay, on the first question, obviously, as you know, North America is a very important part of the group, and the CPO already was spending a lot of time in North America, because not only in terms of volumes, but also in terms of profit, it's a substantial part of Nissan. So no matter who is nominated as CPO, a presence in North America is necessary. So, and this is not going to change. Well, for Munoz, it's going to be easier because he has been managing the North American operation for such a long time. So I think he will be able to deliver on the CPO mission, and at the same time, systematically being present on a monthly basis in North America to continue to chair the North American operation. Obviously, how long he will do that, well, it depends obviously on him and on the overall performance of the company. But we're starting with this organization. On the second question was?
Which one's going to be easier, getting Mitsubishi started in the alliance or when Nissan was brought into the alliance?
Well, obviously, the task to come is always the most difficult, by definition, okay? Well, Nissan is already done. So today we're happy and relaxed. We talk about the revival of Nissan, the good results of Nissan, where we were not as relaxed in 1999. So the task to come is always more difficult than the past task. But I would say that everything being considered, the challenge of reviving Mitsubishi that Masuko-san has, because it's his responsibility, but with all the experience we have, should be feasible with a significant rate of potential success. I think we know this kind of situation, we know how to address it. I don't think in Mitsubishi there are people who are working against the company. Everybody wants to do the best for his own company. Often when there are mistakes, they are due to the fact that people don't talk to each other, that there are silos, that there is, I mean, we know that, we have seen that. Obviously, it's a different company with a different context, but I think from everything we have seen, Mitsubishi people are eager and motivated to re-engage their company on the right track. And I personally trust that Masuko-san will do it, particularly with all the reinforcement we're giving him in terms of management, in terms of skills, and the cooperation he will be benefiting in terms of benchmarking, eventually copying processes existing today in Nissan or in Renault.
In the back, hand up, right behind you, right behind you. No, in the back.
Hi, my name is Kana Inagaki from Financial Times. You mentioned about Mitsubishi's strength in ASEAN operations, and I believe Nissan is targeting a 15% market share in ASEAN 5 in your midterm strategy. Where does your market share stand now, and are you satisfied with your position currently? And where do you see that position going now with the addition of Mitsubishi?
Yeah. Well, obviously, we're not happy with our performance in the ASEAN. That would be a very clear affirmation today. And we think Mitsubishi is doing a much better job than us in many countries in the ASEAN. And I think the collaboration with Mitsubishi is going to help us probably on in many areas to shore up our own level of competitiveness. Certainly not on detriment of Mitsubishi, but in collaboration with Mitsubishi. We're going to do it by benchmarking our own industrial operation. We're going to do it by benchmarking our own level of localization. We're going to do it by benchmarking our own dealer network. There are plenty of areas where we can compare each other performance in order to have a better offer for our customer, on top of the synergies that will be coming from sharing things together. So in ASEAN, this is certainly an area of huge opportunity for Nissan, with the performance of Nissan, which is way below its potential, while ASEAN is an area of strength for Mitsubishi. So this is where the synergies are working the other way, where Mitsubishi can deliver a lot of good example and benchmark for Nissan to perform better.
Additional questions? Okay. Thank you. Oh, we've got one last one right there.
Freelance Watanabe speaking. Thank you for the opportunity. Earlier, you talked about K-car know-how is in the hands of Mitsubishi Motor, and you'll leverage on this, and this will benefit Nissan Motor. If so, as you have done in the past, with regards to K-car segment, Mitsubishi Motor will be the one who will do the development and engineering work, while Nissan Channel will use it to sell the cars. What do you envisage for the K-car operation? And as a result, sales in Japan for Nissan is in the 5th position. You are looking forward to an undisputable 2nd position in Japan, and you are not making any progress here, it seems. Going forward, in sales in Japan, will Nissan expect to increase its position, or Mitsubishi Motor will increase its position in Japan? What's the objective here or goal here? Thank you. That's my question.
Well, on the first question, obviously the cooperation existing today with Mitsubishi on K-cars will continue. It will continue as it is today, where we have a joint venture, where we have a common engineering team. Obviously, we're using a Mitsubishi plant to assemble the cars. We're using some of the Mitsubishi suppliers to supply for the cars. This is going to continue. This is going to obviously even be more solid in the future. And one of the reasons we are emphasizing K-cars, because obviously as we have as an objective to be the 2nd brand in Japan, this starts with a strong performance in K-cars. Today on K-cars, our market share is way below the market share which would be compatible with the 2nd position in Japan, which means you can certainly count on the fact that this alliance with Mitsubishi is going to favor an expansion of the product offer on K-cars, benefiting both Mitsubishi and Nissan, in order for us to have a fair share of the market and a good contribution to this market. You mentioned the fact that we're not moving for the moment to the 2nd position. It's right, because in order to move to the 2nd position, we need to launch a lot of cars, and this offensive has started with the launch of the Serena. We're going to have the Note e-Power. There are many more cars coming in order for us to compete. Obviously, this is not a given. This is something which is going to require a lot of efforts. But I want to say here, Japan is one of the focus markets on which we need to compete much better. And this competition starts with a good product offer. It's not limited to a good product offer, but it starts with a good product offer.
With that, thank you very much for attending. The press conference is over.
Okay, thank you.